Well, good morning, second hour. Welcome to day 2 of week 1. Here's what you can expect today. And I would suggest that at this point, if you haven't done your week 1 handout, open it up on Schoology Write Me Out. So that way, when I'm going over this info, you can be adding answers. So today, I'm going to, as promised, go over the creation myth slides, give you some example answers for the week 1 handout, and then Miss Grundy is going to play for you a video that you also have in here, World on the Turtle's Back. And then you can add the last answers to your handout and get that submitted. So let's talk first about creation myth. So a creation myth, the definition is, it's storytelling that all societies use to explain how the world started. Like I said, every single society that's ever existed in the world has a creation myth or a creation story. So for example, in the Vikings, the Norse tradition, they believed, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce this name, they believed the world was made from the body of a giant, Ymir. In the Christian creation myth, they believe the world was created by God in 7 days. If you have a religious faith, you can absolutely apply that to this week's assignment. So there's 4 characteristics to a creation myth. First one, it describes how all life on Earth started, usually with supernatural beings involved, okay, like gods, goddesses, that sort of thing. Second key characteristic, the natural world is explained by these stories. So how did lightning happen? Why do we have clouds? Those stories have elements of that. Third, the rules of society are supported. So whatever, like, the kind of rules like be kind to one another, you should have a balanced life. Example of this in the Christian creation myth is the 10 Commandments, literally 10 rules on how you should live. Same thing for number 4. Number 4 and number 3 are very closely connected, and I'll talk in a moment about what the main difference is. The 4th one gives guidance on how to live a good life. So number 4 is more like elderly wisdom, whereas number 3 is the rules of that specific society. Number 4 is more general, more philosophical, if you will. So let's go into a little bit of detail of these characteristics, and you can absolutely put these on your handout, as I said at the start. So first characteristic describes how all life on Earth is started. This, like I said, includes gods or goddesses. For example, like in the Greek pantheon, Ares, Athena, Poseidon, Zeus. Often you'll have talking animals in this part of a creation myth. Animals are shown as wise or otherworldly, and they always include the first humans, either molded from a god or goddess or created some other way. Some more detail about the second characteristic. The natural world is explained. So in a world without science, you need answers. Like I said earlier, why does it thunder? So oftentimes the reason is supernatural. Gods or goddesses are involved. For example, in the Norse pantheon, Thor, god of thunder, which of course I've included the image from the Marvel films. Okay, the third characteristic, the rules of society are supported. So a lot of times how you'll see this characteristic in creation myths is you'll see stories that include the good and the bad of humans, because humans we all know this, we have a good side and a bad side. In the Christian creation myth, that's shown with like the devil and the angel on your shoulder, for example. All creation myths include rules for how to be good and what the consequences are if you break the rules. So for example, in the Christian myth, if you're bad, you go to hell. If you're good, you get your reward in heaven. And one consistency you'll see across creation myths around the world is this idea of reward versus punishment. Okay, the last characteristic gives guidance on how to live a good life. So how is this different? The third characteristic is about punishment and reward. This one is more learned advice, philosophical, groovy positivity, if you will. Picture like an old grandfather, a wise one, giving advice to the little baby humans. That's more what this is, more universal themes. So, for example, for this one, you'll see characteristics in the story like they'll have advice about living in balance with your surroundings or an example of living in balance with your surroundings, how to be grateful, that sort of thing is what you'll see for number 4. All right, I'm going to switch out now to show you some examples for the week 1 handout, and then we'll end the lecture portion of class with the Iroquois video, and it'll be played right from this pink slide here. But first, let's give you some example answers as we go here. And as I said yesterday, you are more than welcome to write my answers when they apply, but when it comes to opinion and things like that, give your opinion, please. But I want to show you some modeling. I want to show you how these can look. All right, so here's how I'm grading you on your answers. Do your answers show an understanding of creation myth or creation story? And do you have, excuse me, supporting detail with correct identification of the characteristics? That's what I'm looking for. And if the first time you do this, your grade isn't what you'd like, as I said yesterday, you can absolutely revise. You can revise anything in this class. So this is a formative assignment. So it's the part of the grade that's worth 40%. So let's give you some examples. So number 1, first you talk about a creation myth that you learned about. And those were on, you could either talk about World on the Turtle's Back, which we'll show in a moment, or you can talk about the clips from that blue slide. So I chose the Japanese culture story because I found it most interesting. So I write right here, Japanese culture's creation story. You could also write something like story from Japan. And then next, I write why I chose it. So I chose it because I found the idea of yin and yang for balance in the world to make sense, and I thought it was interesting. You could also choose, I found the imagery to be interesting. So that's anything you can picture in the story. That's what imagery is. We'll learn more about that next week. So that's 1 and 2. Move on to number 3 here. This is where we'll start identifying these works with the characteristics. So I'm going to find examples, in other words. Anytime in a literature class you hear the word works, that means anything we're analyzing. That can be a video, website, a book, short story, poetry, what have you. So first, I'll give a summary or say where the myth comes from, and then what's the detail that fits that particular part of the myth. So for number 3, describes how all life on Earth started. So creation myth characteristic 1. So I took my example from Christianity. And like I said, if you have a religious faith, you can absolutely include that in these answers here. Details to support. So how do I know it fits? Describes how all life on Earth started. So I wrote, God created the world in 7 days. That's how I know it fits, because there's that creation portion. Pause so you can get that, and then we'll move on to number 4. All right, so number 4 is creation myth characteristic 2. The natural world is explained. So where did I get the story from? In other words, what culture am I analyzing? And then what's the example that shows that? So for this one, I picked the Norse culture, Thor and Thunder specifically. And then details to support. How do I know that that fits characteristic 2? Natural world is explained. So I wrote, Thor is Odin's son, and he has powers related to thunder or storms. Norse people believe Thor's anger caused thunder/storms. And again, looking for content, not complete sentences when you write these. I'm going to pause so you can get that. All right, so number 5 is creation myth characteristic 3. Rules of society are supported. So this is that one that's about punishment and reward. So I picked Christianity for my example, heaven and hell, and then details to support. How do I know that that's rules of society? So again, that idea of punishment and reward. So you get a reward in heaven for following the rules, or your reward is heaven. And then being good, according to this myth, hell for the opposite. So if you're bad, you go to hell. If you're good, you go to heaven, according to the Christian creation myth. So number 6, creation myth characteristic 4, guidance on how to live a good life. So that's more philosophical. What is life? That kind of thing. So here I took the example from the story you're going to see in a moment here from the Iroquois tribe of Native Americans. So they have a story in their creation myth, a little side story about there's 2 twin brothers, and they represent the sides of all people. One twin is more dark, bad. One twin is more light or good. How do I know that it fits this characteristic and it isn't 3, punishment and reward? So the story shows that good and bad have a balanced relationship. You need one with the other. So really living a good life is about balance. That's what that characteristic is all about. And pause so you can get that, and then I'll move on to the last task here. And all of these examples are in your green resources folder on Schoology if you ever need to reference them later. Okay. Finally, you're going to write after we watch this video here, and we'll do that last. And after the video, I'll be in the meet if you have any questions. So after watching the video, the Iroquois creation story, here's the only part in your assignment where I would like good sentences. Write a couple of sentences describing in your own words the most important parts of the story. So again, you're going to watch this video and decide what you think are the most important parts. It's your opinion. And then back up your opinion with clear sentences. And then that's it for your work for this week. You can submit it. So at this point, I'm going to have Ms. Grundy play the video for you from this pink tab. I'm going to go quiet, and I will be in the G Meet until the end of class if you need anything. Good luck. You got this.